Hi there everyone, hope you are well. It is finally starting to feel a bit like spring here. Today is actually quite gloomy, but we had some really nice spring weather, and then it snowed, and then the snow melted, and now it's sort of in between. We have 5 degrees Celsius, so yeah, it's not too cold. Starting to feel like spring might be fully here soon. So today we are going to talk about planning your creative work for spring. So yeah, let's get into it. I have been planning my creative work in tune with the seasons for a little over a year now, and I'm so in love with the process. So the benefit of planning seasonally, I think, is that you are planning for a shorter amount of time than a year, because planning a whole year is pretty impossible, I think. But you're planning for a stretch of time that is longer than maybe a week or a month. So you have a sort of in-between middle length period that you're planning for. And the other option, of course, is to plan by the yearly quarters. But I find that planning in tune with the seasons is better because the seasons affect us already. It will affect your mood, your creativity, your energy levels. So planning in tune with that is going to be easier, it's going to be more inspiring, it's going to be more in tune with how you already work. So I have a planning guide that is called 4 Seasons of Creative Work. This is the spring workbook, and you can use this alongside this video if you want to. We're going to follow the steps that are in the workbook. So if you have it already, you can bring it out and follow along, or you can go and get it on our website if you want to. So yeah. Let's get into it. Spring is the season where everything wakes up. It is when inspiration starts to flow again, the ideas start to popping up, and yeah, everything comes alive a little bit more. So winter is very much a season of hibernation, and we're usually quite low on energy. It's more about reflection and taking it a little bit slower. And then when the spring comes, we get new energy, we get fresh energy, we get more inspiration for projects we're already doing, or it can be a great time to start new projects. So that is the mood of spring that we are gonna try to create in harmony with. And spring is also considered one of the most productive seasons. But the backside to this is that we have so much energy, feel like we can do a lot, we're very inspired. So that can mean that we are pushing ourselves a little bit too hard. So it's also very important to keep that in mind and to not push yourself too hard. When we are starting to plan for a season ahead, I think it's also good to just give yourself a moment to think about the season we're leaving behind. Reflect on it a bit and see what went well, what went according to plan, just so we are not always running forward, but also giving yourself a little bit of space for reflection. So whether you have the workbook or you're journaling, ask yourself a couple of questions. So what did you create during winter? What went according to plan? What maybe didn't go so well? Is there something you have learned during winter that you can take with you into spring? Just ask yourself a couple of these questions. So my winter was okay. I'm always a little bit low on energy in winter, so it has not been the most inspired and motivated and energetic season, which of course affects like my creative work and how much I'm able to do. So, and I think as well that the pandemic has been a bit of a drag during winter, especially when you can't be outside as much and it's quite dark and all of that. So I'm happy that I've created quite a bit of videos during winter, and this YouTube channel has grown a little bit as well. So I'm happy about that. But I'm looking forward to spring. The next thing to do is to check in with your yearly goal. So maybe you set a yearly goal, or maybe you have set some intentions or a word of the year, and whatever it is, I think it's really good to check in with it a couple of times a year. So the beginning of a season, if you're planning seasonally, is an excellent time to do it. So yeah, what was your yearly goal or whatever it was? And are you still connected to it? Does it still feel like the right one? And if not, how can you tweak it? And if it does, what have you learned so far about moving towards it? And how do you want to move forward with it and move towards it in this season ahead? So by doing this, we make sure that in the season you are moving towards the longer goal that you have, and not just floating and doing something completely different that won't further you to your yearly goal. So check in with that and do some journaling or use the workbook. So for the next part, I have headed outside to try to look for some spring signs. And the next thing to do is to explore how you think spring affects you and your creativity. So like I said, spring tends to be a season with a lot of fresh energy, inspiration, and some new motivation. But that is what is true on a general scale, so it's good to explore it for yourself as well and for your creative work. So you can look back on what you've created past springs, or just think about what are you inspired about right now, what are you feeling would be fun to explore in your creative work. And just journal out a couple of those questions to see how spring affects you. And here behind me I have a really good spring sign. There are some bulbs. These are called videkissar or vidungar in Swedish. I have no idea what they are called in English. But yeah, those are one of the early spring signs here. So it's really good to see them. Like you can see, it's not a very spring-like day. It's quite cloudy and the lake still has some ice on it, but the ice is melting, which is also a spring sign. So yeah, journal out or use the workbook to explore what are you inspired to do this spring, and how do you feel the spring tends to affect you in your creative work. So for me, I'm very standard in this. I get new energy and get new inspiration. So spring tends to be good if you are starting a new project or if you are just exploring many different ideas. So yeah, let's explore spring now. So it is now time to choose some focus areas for spring. So if you've been watching me before, you might know that I am very fond of focus areas. I think it's really helpful to have those so that you know how to prioritize if things gets a bit too much. And yeah, just know what you're gonna do in a time period. So you choose your focus areas thinking about your yearly goal, what you want to do this season to move towards your yearly goal, and also how spring affects you, what you're inspired about doing this season, and maybe also already have some plans that you know you're going to focus on. So you can choose as many focus areas as you want. I recommend having 1 to 2 and maybe some other little things on the side. Depends on how much you're doing, how varied your creative life is, of course. So I have 2 focus areas, 1 main and 1 secondary. And since my goal is to grow my creative business and I am doing my leap in spring as well, so April and May I'm going to do this full time. So yeah, my main focus area is to build trust in my coaching, since that is my main offering. So how I do that is essentially through my content, through the things I share, through helping you guys with your creative projects and moving forward in your creative lives. So it is, of course, with content marketing, it is a win-win situation that I can help you guys. And for those of you who might be interested in coaching, it shows you what kind of coach I am, how I can help you guys. So, and if you're not interested in coaching, you just get the advice for free. So yeah, that is my main focus. And then my secondary focus is to do some outreach work, to build some more community. I want to strengthen that in the things that I do. And yeah, so that is my focus areas for spring. So now that you have focus areas for spring, you can start connecting activities to those focus areas so you know how to work with them. So in the workbook, we have a little mind map situation going on. So you can just write down your focus areas and draw lines from the focus areas connecting different activities. Just do a brainstorm what you can do, and then you can whittle it down and choose what activities you think are the best ones, which ones are the ones that you're most inspired about, so you don't just give yourself a huge list of things to do, but choose them wisely. I headed back inside because it looked like it was going to start raining, and I don't want rain on me. But it's rain and not snow, and that, I must say, is a spring sign, so good news. And yeah, so now that you have your focus areas and some activities related to those and how you want to move forward towards your yearly goal, then you can start planning on a more practical level. So content plan, if you have a plan of campaigns you want to do, if there's some projects you really want to work on, things you want to bring to life. I have a specific thing that I want to create during spring and hopefully launch in time for summer. So I'm going to work on that as well. And then break it down on a more monthly level and week by week as you are moving forward. So yeah, and of course, you can do other things than just your focus areas. I know that even if I'm going to focus quite a lot on creative projects in my content, I'm also still going to do slow living vlogs now and then. So it's not like you have to do only the things that are your focus areas, but they can give you some direction and some focus in your work during the season. So yeah, I must say I'm not feeling the most spring-like today. It is a bit too gloomy, but it's definitely coming. Spring is definitely coming, and I'm very excited for it, very inspired for it, and I'm so looking forward to everything that spring brings. And for me, it's going to bring my 6 months leap as well, starting in April, my leap to go full-time with my credit business. So that is super exciting, and yeah, hope you're feeling inspired for spring as well. Have some plans and know what you're gonna do in spring in your creative work. Let me know down below in the comments if you have some plans and how you think spring is affecting you and your creativity and what you're inspired for this season. So thank you for watching. Give this video a little like if you enjoyed it. If you are new here, hello and welcome. And I will see you in the next video. Bye!